Welcome to AI Book Highlights.
Great to be here.
Today we're looking into a book that, well, really shook things up back in 2007, The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss.
Oh, yeah, definitely a game changer for a lot of people. Its whole idea is about challenging that traditional work until you're 65 model.
Right. It's about designing a life focused on freedom, like right now, not just someday.
Exactly. So today we're pulling out 5 key highlights, the big ideas from the book that offer a fresh perspective.
And then we'll get practical. We've got 3 actionable takeaways you can try out pretty much immediately.
Yeah, the goal is to give you a solid grasp of some core concepts without, getting totally overwhelmed. This is a shortcut to the good stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Let's jump into the first highlight. This idea Ferriss has about the new rich versus the deferrers.
Right. This is fundamental to the book. So the deferrers, well, they're playing the long game, right?
Sure.
Saving up, delaying gratification, aiming for that traditional retirement.
The path most people are kind of pushed towards.
Pretty much. But then you have the new rich, or NR, as he calls them. Their priority is different. It's about freedom and experiences now.
So what does that look like? Is it just about not working?
Not quite. It's
Right.
more about a mindset shift. They think big, for sure, but they focus on creating cash flow today.
Okay.
And it's not just about escaping tasks you hate. It's like actively figuring out what you want to do, what your passions are, maybe things you lost touch with after years of, the grind.
Rediscovering things.
Yeah. It's about redesigning life around those things now, not waiting. It redefines success away from just accumulating wealth for later.
And didn't he also talk about how this makes your money more valuable? Something about location?
Exactly. That's a key point.
Yeah.
The deferrers focus on that big future number. The NR realize that if you free up your time and where you work,
Your money stretches further.
way further. He gives examples like you could rent an amazing place somewhere affordable for less than your apartment rent in a big U.S. city. Certainly, your income has like 3 to 10 times the power in terms of lifestyle.
Right. Freedom of time and location multiplies the value. Okay, that's a powerful start. What's highlight number 2?
Highlight 2 is a technique Ferriss calls fear setting. It's basically an antidote to getting stuck. Procrastination driven by fear.
Fear setting. Okay, intriguing. How does that work?
Well, the insight is that we often let vague anxieties hold us back, right? Fear setting forces you to define them, make them concrete.
So you face the fear head on.
Pretty much. There are 4 key questions.
Yeah.
First, define the nightmare. What is the absolute worst thing that can happen if you, say, take that leap or start that project?
Okay, really spell it out.
Yeah, and then assess it.
Hmm.
How permanent is that damage really, and what's the actual likelihood on a scale of 1 to 10? Often it's less catastrophic than you imagine.
Makes sense. What's next?
Second question, what steps could you take to reduce the chances of that worst case happening? Or if it does happen, how could you repair the damage?
So damage control planning.
Yeah.
Puts you back in control, kind of.
Exactly. It shifts you from worry to problem solving. Third, what are the benefits of trying? Even if you only partially succeed, what's the upside, even just from the attempt itself?
Right. Balancing the risks with potential rewards.
Precisely. And the fourth question is quite direct. What are you putting off right now, specifically because of fear?
Oof. Yeah.
Ferriss argues, and it rings true for many, that the thing you fear most is often the thing you most need to do.
Like asking for a raise or starting that side business.
It could be anything. He even suggests an exercise like imagining you got fired today. What steps would you take right now to get back on your feet financially?
Wow.
The whole point is define the worst, accept it might happen, but see it's probably survivable. Plan for it, and then act. It strips the fear of its power.
Very practical. Okay, highlight number 3 takes us to the 80-20 principle, Pareto's law.
Ah, yes.
Uh.
Vilfredo Pareto, a classic for a reason. The principle is simple. Roughly 80% of your results, or consequences, come from only 20% of your causes or efforts.
And this applies everywhere.
Pretty much. In business, maybe 80% of profits come from 20% of customers. Or 80% of your complaints come from 20% of issues. Ferriss talks about his own experience.
Right, working crazy hours.
Yeah, like 15-hour days, feeling totally swamped, until he actually sat down and analyzed where were the results really coming from and what was causing most of the problems.
Supplying the 80-20 lens.
Exactly. The key thing for you, the listener, is to identify your 20%. What 20% of activities generate 80% of your happiness or desired outcomes? And, just as importantly,
The flip side.
what 20% of sources cause 80% of your problems or unhappiness? Finding that 20% is crucial.
Which leads nicely into his idea of a not-to-do list, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Ferriss argues that a not-to-do list is often more important than a to-do list. It's about identifying and eliminating that low-impact 80% of stuff that just eats up time.
Focus on the vital few. Ditch the trivial many.
That's the essence of it. Stop doing the things that don't move the needle.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Let's move to highlight 4, Parkinson's Law.
Right. Parkinson's Law. Another simple but profound idea. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
The classic example being, if you have all week to do a report, it takes all week. If you only have a day.
You get it done in a day. Ferriss uses this to critique the standard 9-to-5 structure. He calls it the 9-to-5 illusion.
Meaning, time gets wasted just because it's there.
Basically, yeah. Unimportant tasks, distractions, they creep in because the time exists to accommodate them.
So how do we fight that?
Ferriss suggests combining it with the 80-20 principle. It's a 1-2 punch. First, use 80-20 to identify the most important tasks, the critical 20%.
Okay.
Then, apply Parkinson's Law aggressively to those tasks. Give yourself much shorter deadlines to complete them.
So limit the time for the important stuff specifically.
Precisely. This forces intense focus. You don't have time for fluff or procrastination on the things that actually matter. It makes you zero in.
Creating artificial urgency for the critical tasks.
You got it. Set tight, but achievable deadlines. Ferriss suggests identifying maybe just 1 or 2 mission-critical tasks per day.
Only 1 or 2.
Yeah. And ask yourself, if this is the only thing I accomplish today, will I be satisfied with my day? It forces ruthless prioritization.
Prevents the unimportant from taking over. Okay? And the final highlight, number 5.
This one's about managing information intake. He calls it cultivating a low-information diet.
A low-information diet. Feels very relevant today with, well, everything constantly coming at us.
Extremely relevant. He makes a great analogy to nutrition. Just like junk food is bad for your body, consuming tons of low-value, irrelevant information is bad for your focus and mental energy.
Junk information, I like that.
Yeah. He points out that most of the news and random info we consume is often time-consuming, mostly negative, not actually relevant to our goals, and
outside our control anyway.
exactly, stuff you can't influence. So the takeaway for you is to be much more selective. Become a gatekeeper for your own attention.
How do you actually do that? Just ignore everything.
Not quite ignore everything, but be deliberate. He suggests techniques like consciously redirecting conversations away from gossip or irrelevant topics.
Okay.
A big one is batching email. Check it only at specific times, say twice a day, instead of having it constantly open.
Breaking the Pavlovian response.
Right. Be selective about news, maybe just a quick 5-minute scan once a day, or read a weekly summary. And practice non-finishing.
Non-finishing.
If you start an article, a book, even a movie, and it's boring or not providing value, just stop. Don't feel obligated to finish it. Your time is too valuable.
Permission to bail. I like that. He also mentioned speed reading, didn't he?
He does touch on speed reading techniques as a tool to process necessary information more efficiently, but the core idea is reducing the volume first. Filter aggressively.
Okay, 5 really thought-provoking highlights. Let's shift to the actionable takeaways. What's the first step someone listening can take this week?
Okay, takeaway number 1 is define your dream lines and calculate your target monthly income, or TMI.
Dreamlines.
That
Sounds aspirational.
It is, but it's about making aspirations concrete. You basically list, say, 4 or 5 things you really want to have, be, or do, big or small.
Like travel somewhere specific, learn a skill, buy something.
Exactly. Things that would significantly improve your life. Then you figure out the cost. Not just a vague, I want more money, but what does the life I want actually cost per month?
Putting a price tag on the dream.
Precisely. You calculate the monthly cost for these dreams, and maybe it's $100 for a cooking class, $500 towards a travel fund, whatever. Add them up.
Okay, get the total monthly dream cost.
Then you multiply that total by 1.3. That extra 30% is a buffer. For taxes, savings, unexpected stuff, that final number, that's your TMI.
Your target monthly income needed to fund that specific desired lifestyle.
You got it. And he even suggests dividing TMI by 30 to get a target daily income, or TDI. Makes it feel more manageable day to day.
And are there tools for this?
Yeah, he mentions online resources, calculators on the companion website for the book that help automate this. It makes the goal tangible, not just a fuzzy wish.
Okay, define the dream, cost it out, find your TMI, actionable. What's number 2?
Takeaway number 2 is to implement one comfort challenge this week.
A comfort challenge? What's that about?
Well, Ferriss points out something crucial. The most important actions, the ones that lead to growth, are often uncomfortable.
Things we kind of shy away from.
Exactly. But he believes you can train yourself, like a muscle, to handle discomfort better. So the challenge is to pick one small thing this week that feels slightly awkward or scary and just do it.
What kind of thing?
It could be really simple. He gives an example in the book, the learn to eye gaze exercise. Just practice holding eye contact with people in conversation for a bit longer than usual until they look away first.
Huh. Sounds simple, but I can see how that would feel weird for some people.
Right. It's deceptively simple. The point isn't necessarily the outcome. Like, you're not trying to win a staring contest or get phone numbers with that specific exercise.
It's about the act of doing the uncomfortable thing.
Exactly. It's about pushing the boundary of your comfort zone, even just a tiny bit. Overcoming that internal resistance. Ferriss says your success in life is often directly proportional to the number of uncomfortable conversations or actions you're willing to take.
So build the discomfort muscle with small, weekly challenges. Makes sense. Okay, final takeaway. Number 3.
Our third actionable takeaway loops back to productivity. Start a not-to-do list alongside your to-do list.
Right, we touched on this with the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, it's reinforcing that idea.
Yeah.
Stopping unproductive activities can genuinely boost your performance more than just adding more tasks.
So practically, what does that look like this week?
Just identify 1 or 2 things you habitually do that honestly are time wasters and don't contribute much to your important goals.
Like checking email first thing in the morning. Or maybe automatically saying yes to every meeting request.
Perfect examples. Or maybe it's mindlessly scrolling social media during breaks or answering calls from unknown numbers when you're trying to focus.
Things that drain time and energy for little return.
Precisely. Use that 80-20 thinking. What are my common low-impact time sinks? Pick 1 or 2, write them on your not-to-do list, and make a conscious effort to avoid them this week.
Be deliberate about eliminating waste. Got it.
It frees up surprising amounts of mental space and time for the stuff that actually matters.
So pulling this all together, the 4-hour work week really challenges us to think differently about work, money, and time, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's about questioning the default path, embracing that new rich mindset, using practical tools like fear setting and 80-20.
Leveraging Parkinson's law, filtering your information intake, it's a whole system.
It is. And the goal isn't necessarily literally working only 4 hours, though some achieve variations of that. It's about building a life with far more freedom and fulfillment to find on your own terms.
And these takeaways, dreamlining, comfort challenges, the not-to-do lists, they're tangible first steps anyone can take.
Yeah, small steps that start shifting your mindset and habits towards that larger vision of designing your life. It's about taking control.
Well, this has been a fantastic look into the core ideas of the 4-hour work week. Thanks for breaking it down.
My pleasure. It's a book that definitely sparks a lot of thought.
And if these highlights resonated with you, if you're curious and want to really dive into the specific strategies, the mindset shifts, all the details, we definitely recommend picking up a copy of the book.
For sure. It's full of practical advice, case studies, scripts, templates, a real blueprint.
You can find a link to grab the book in the description below. It really could transform how you think about work, productivity, and ultimately how you design your life. Thanks for tuning in to AI Book Highlights.